Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for this virtual conference, Kazakhstan-EU relations, from establishing the partnership to driving it forward. My name is Georgi Gotev. I'm the Euractiv senior editor, the journalist closely following Central Asia and Kazakhstan. It has been a pleasure for me over several years to bring together Central Asia and Kazakhstan with the European Union and the member countries. It is the Euractiv DNA to help mutual understanding and to bring nations closer, especially in their neighborhoods. I have a great panel of speakers. I will very briefly introduce them. First, Ambassador Aigul Kuspan, the ambassador of Kazakhstan to Belgium, but also to the European Union and to NATO, will make a keynote message, will deliver a keynote message. Then Mr. Andris, Ameriks, a member of the European Parliament, Vice Chair of the Delegation for Central Asia and Mongolia, will speak. He's an MEP from Latvia. Then Mr. Pierre Borgoltz, member of the Advisory Council of FERRMED. This is an association promoting transport corridors. Will speak. Then Mr. Gani Bekenov, he's the head of the London office of the foundation of the first president of the Republic of Kazakhstan, will have the floor. Last but not least, Mr. Dastan Yeleukenov, counselor to the director of the Kazakhstan Institute for Strategic Studies, will have the floor. Then we will have a debate, a Q&A, and for this, please do use the Q&A box. Type your question in the Q&A box. Also, please mention to whom your question is addressed, and I will ask your questions to the panelists. So, without further ado, I give the floor to Ambassador Kuspan. You have the floor, Madam Ambassador.
Thank you very much, dear Mr. Gotev. Dear friends, thank you for joining us today. Thank you to the Euractiv team for hosting this event on the eve of the first President's Day and Independence Day of Kazakhstan. I am delighted to see here His Excellency MEP Ameriks, His Excellency Ambassador Yeleukenov, Dr. Borgoltz, and my excellent friend, Mr. Bekenov. So, over the recent 3 decades, Kazakhstan has reached important milestones of its statehood, thanks to the unity and dedication of our people. In 1991, December 1st, Nursultan Nazarbayev was elected as the president of Kazakhstan. Today, we associate the first President Nazarbayev with the modern history of our nation, the foundation of efficient state institutions, adoption of the market economy, a pragmatic foreign policy, the construction of a completely new city, the capital of the young nation, and every reform that has brought us to where we are today. The far-reaching strategy of the development of Kazakhstan's nationhood, designed by Nazarbayev, continues to pave the way for new reforms that help us navigate in these challenging times. It would take me a long time to list all the accomplishments we have made during Nazarbayev's presidency. In particular, I would like to underline one important achievement: From the very beginning, a true partnership with Europe has featured at the top of the first president's foreign policy agenda. Thanks to trustful relations that our leaders have developed throughout these years, Kazakhstan and the EU have concluded a far-reaching enhanced partnership and cooperation agreement, the first one of its kind in the region. The agreement entered into force on the 1st of March this year. Yet an even bigger challenge and a true test to our joint commitments made begins now with the implementation of the cooperation agreed in the 29 areas of work, including climate change, space safety, and preventing the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. In addition, since recently, thanks to the increasing regional awareness among our neighbors, cooperation in the format of EU Central Asia has become a more and more efficient platform. In this spirit, I am looking forward to further enhancing our cooperation in a number of fields. Dear friends, I wish us an interesting and productive discussion today. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you very much also for your op-ed, which you submitted, and it was published this morning with Euractiv. We don't have much time, but for those who want to read more, it's available. It's there. It's on the homepage of Euractiv. I would like now to turn to the member of the European Parliament, Mr. Andris Ameriks, also reminding that Mr. Ameriks is a former deputy mayor of Riga, and these days when we speak about corridors, very often they span distances as big as Riga or Nursultan or even further. But Mr. Ameriks, I give you the floor.
The Ambassador of Kazakhstan, Mr. Aigul Kuspan. At least we can meet each other in this kind of format, but I really hope that situation will be stabilized and improve in the nearest future, so we can continue working on our cooperation, not only through the online platforms, but also in a person. History of the relationships between Kazakhstan and the EU already counts decades. Support from the European Union has been important to Kazakhstan's development since this country's independence in 1991. I would not like to list all the support, only want to notice that this support makes win-win situation. By this support, the EU can spread its values beyond the EU. Therefore, it is important to continue cooperation in this field for prosperity, democracy, and stability in the world. The new agreement, Enhanced Partnership and Cooperation Agreement, signed by the EU and Kazakhstan in 2015, replaces the previous agreement and makes our further cooperation much broader and deeper by covering a wide range of new fields for cooperation. As we can see, in nowadays, the world is very dynamic, with fast changes providing us new challenges, which we sometimes could not even imagine. Therefore, we need more closer, efficient cooperation, which addresses our today's challenges. The situation with COVID-19 shows that we need to come up with new points of contact in our cooperation in fields where we did not work together and probably did not put enough attention on. As you know, recently there was a ministerial meeting between the EU's highest representative Josep Borrell and Kazakh representatives in 18th of November. This shows that we can work together no matter what happens in the world. And we have to work in all levels of cooperation and keep in touch with our partners despite the current situation. Since the independence of Kazakhstan, it has been doing great developments, and each person who visits the Kazakhstan can see how the country been changed, and it's still changing. In October 2020, President of Kazakhstan, Tokayev, has signed a decree which schedules the election of the lower chamber of the Kazakh parliament in 21st of January 2021. During these elections, people of Kazakhstan will make their choice in electing deputies for the following 5 years. I believe that nation of Kazakhstan will make the right choice, while Kazakh leadership will follow the democratic processes in the name of prosperity and well-being of the country and its people. I greatly welcome continuing of ex-President Nazarbayev's established direction in the legal reforms and actions taken by the current Kazakh leadership in developing countries' democracy, transparency, and good governance. Introduction of the mutual quota of 30% of women and young people on the party list signed by President Tokayev is of a great importance for the further development of balanced political life in the Kazakhstan and for keeping the politics in the line with the world's practice. The results of elections are highly important for Kazakhstan, Central Asia, and for EU. As far as closer partner of the Kazakhstan, therefore I hope that the people of Kazakhstan will be active and responsible in deciding who will represent them in the Majlis during the next 5 years. At a time when the whole world is struggling with a pandemic that has caused great social turmoil and challenges for national governments, it is vital that these elections provide a real example of mutual trust between the people and the authorities. Kazakhstan is one of the key players in the Central Asian region politically, economically, and in terms of security of the region. Thus, we must work together to improve the situation in the region and beyond. Already, a lot been done for development of relations between the EU and Kazakhstan. However, I see no boundaries for our further cooperation, and I am ready to do my best for our warm and trustful relations. As a vice chair of the Central Asian delegation in the European Parliament, I will be active partner in order to develop relationships between the EU and Kazakhstan in a new quality and so a next level. Thank you for your attention, and let's protect our health. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ameriks. I think we will come back to your messages. The first one is, of course, that we must keep on working despite the COVID situation. And the second one is the importance of the elections in Kazakhstan in January, the importance for democratization. And maybe you will tell us later if the European Parliament is going to send a delegation monitor the elections, or this is going to be difficult under the COVID situations. But let's talk about this later. Next on my list is Pierre Borgoltz, member of the Advisory Council of FERRMED, and Mr. Borgoltz is also a former coordinator for cooperation with Central Asian countries in the European External Action Service. You have the floor, Mr. Borgoltz.
Thank you, Mr. Gortyev. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to participate in this round table on driving the EU-Kazakhstan enhanced partnership forward. I would like to thank the organizer for their invitation on such a timely and important subject. Kazakhstan has been, from its coming into being almost 30 years ago, an excellent partner for the EU, demonstrating steadily a genuine commitment to address difficult challenges and common issues with a positive engagement with the EU, aiming at reaching joint undertakings for mutual benefits. Today, we are discussing how to drive forward the new agreement between the EU and Kazakhstan that came in effect in March this year. Just to recall the high expectations of our Kazakh friends on this when it was signed by High Representative Mogherini and Foreign Minister Idrisov 5 years ago. Already, just to emphasize that Kazakhstan didn't wait for the agreement to come into force to forge ever stronger relations with the EU and further build the solid foundations of a modern state for a bright future. This brings also in memory to me exactly 5 years ago when Foreign Minister Idrisov sent a very important message, particularly to the EU, in a seminal article entitled "The Great Gain, Not the Great Game, How Kazakhstan is Charting its Own Course in the World." Foreign Minister Idrisov was highlighting two essential points that remain equally valid today. First, that Kazakhstan had come to age and could stand on its own feet to chart the country's path to a democratic socio-economic development. It had graduated from a transition stage to engage in a dynamic transformation process, inspired by its own national ambition towards sustainable, harmonious future. The second point is that the revival of the ancient glorious Silk Road would become a centerpiece to drive the sustainable economic and social prosperity of the country, but also of the neighbors and the regions all along the way. The country leadership heralded through this bold, phenomenal vision that a new area was opening across the Eurasian continent and invited then wholeheartedly the EU to join in and contribute without second thoughts
I think we lost Mr. Borgoltz.
5 years later. It is quite revealing to examine what has become of this grand vision of the Kazakh leadership that has been viewed by many at the time, including on the EU side, as quite an unlikely proposal and politely dismissed or sidetracked. Today, in fact, Kazakhstan has indeed become the vital transport hub at the center of the Eurasian continent, in north-south direction and east-west directions, and not least the EU gate for transcontinental trade to East Asia and China. Commitment by Kazakhstan to this bold land bridge initiative has turned it into a resounding success. Such remarkable achievement of Kazakhstan, in close cooperation with its neighbors and regional cooperation, give us very important clues on the value and potential for the EU of this Kazakhstan enhanced partnership, and how deeper cooperation with Kazakhstan could indeed lead to better security, increased prosperity and social improvement, not only in the country itself, but also in the whole neighboring region. the Eurasian corridor has become a major engine of resilient growth and sustainable transformation across the whole continent. In one word, a solid basis for a bright future of EU-Kazakhstan relations and further EU-Central Asia relations is there to cultivate further and make fruitfully blossom to our mutual benefits. President Tokayev, in his address to the nation, has stressed that indeed, for further economic reform, the development of the transport and logistic sector is essential. Let's work on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Borgoltz. I'm sure we will return to this, and I'm going to ask you, as our discussion will proceed, to offer us some figures, because I know that you have them to illustrate what you have called, the remarkable achievement of Kazakhstan becoming the EU gate for Eastern Asia and China. But now let me turn to the next speaker, Mr. Gani Bekenov, head of the London office of the Nazarbayev Foundation. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Water. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and dear friends, a big hello from London. Let me start by thanking EURACTIV and our embassy in Brussels for this wonderful opportunity to meet virtually with such distinguished people and for their support to the thriving partnership between Kazakhstan and the EU. First President of Kazakhstan, Nursultan Nazarbayev, from the first days of our independence, defined the European vector as a strategic direction for the foreign policy of our country. This undeniable significance of cooperation with European states was considered by the first president from the perspective of solving the most important task at the time, strengthening the sovereignty and integrity of Kazakhstan, and ensuring a solid trajectory of economic growth and social development. Regular and effective dialogue at the highest level, consisting a lot of global series and European leaders, created a solid foundation for the accelerated development of bilateral cooperation, providing broad political support, reforms, and favorable climate for European investment and technologies. Kazakhstan and the EU have gained important positive experience in collaboration in the international arena, including on the non-proliferation track, as well as strengthening regional security and security. Joint peacekeeping efforts of Nursultan Nazarbayev and European leaders included Minsk agreements on Ukraine, as well as paving the way to joint comprehensive plan of action on Iran's nuclear program during NPT rounds, and several programs on human development in Afghanistan. The high level of political relations between Kazakhstan and the EU has created favorable conditions for realizing the potential of the economic sphere. As all we know, the European Union ranks first among trade and investment partners of our country. It is gratifying that European relations are strengthened day by day, also thanks to the steady growth of exchange between thousands of students, scientists, artists, athletes, and of course tourists. A new bright chapter in the history of relations with the EU started when the Enhanced Partnership and Cooperation Agreement, EPCA, signed in 2015 and came into effect this March. This document marks significant historical milestone in mutual cooperation that will contribute to expanding the horizons of political cooperation and deepening economic ties, with a new impetus to comprehensive dialogue of Kazakhstan with the EU and its member states. We all look forward to witnessing its implementation for the benefit of all parties concerned. Let me also give some brief info about our foundation, which is considered as the largest non-profit foundation in the country and expanded its activities for the benefit of Kazakhstan people. The foundation established in 2000 by personal initiative of the first president, and today is proudly implementing his ideas and improving human capital competitiveness and creation of a new generation of Kazakhstan. The work of the foundation is aimed at supporting talented young people, development of social projects and civil initiatives, and competitive expert analytical activities based on professional management principles and systematic approach to education. Today, Foundation is managing 12 competitive programs for the provision of awards, grants, and scholarships. For these purposes, Foundation established several advisory boards, such as Science Council, Council for Culture, and IT Council, which function on a constant basis. In pre-COVID 2019, our foundation carried out 95 projects with about 460,000 people involved. We arranged 125 events, including forums, conferences, and roundtables. So that's all what we do. And I also been asked by Associate Ambassador Andris, whom you were mentioning before, to give you a brief hello. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Bekenov. I will invite you speak closer to your microphone or to your. I'm also to ask you that later. I'm familiar with and the Nazarbayev Foundation. Invest in human capital. So I'm going to ask you, how are you making sure that young Kazakhs who get education abroad return to work for their country? But this is for later. Now, let me turn to Mr. Dastan Yeleukenov, counselor to the director of the Kazakhstan Strategic Studies. I must say that this is an institute I visit every time I go to the capital of Kazakhstan. And by the way, it is situated in the building of the Electoral Commission. Mr. Yeleukenov, you have the floor.
Thank you. Hello, and let me thank organizers for inviting me. And hello, Ambassador Aigul Kuspan, whom I know for a long time. And thank you for your words about the Institute of Strategic Studies under the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Actually, I just recently joined the institute, and until September, I worked at the Foreign Ministry as a director of Department of International Security, and probably it will explain that I will be inclined to speak more about how Kazakhstan can using the partnership with the European Union enhance regional security in Central Asia. Well, thank you very much again for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I would like to kickstart the debate. And I would like a first round of debate among the speakers. But before that, I would like to ask Mr. Borgoltz to illustrate with some data the development of this huge project of New Silk Road in terms of increased traffic of goods. Kazakhstan is a landlocked country, but it has become land-linked lately. Can you please offer some figures to illustrate this? Thank you.
Went off. Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Borgoltz, we are.
Okay.
I invited you to offer some figures.
Okay. Indeed, when we talk of the Eurasian corridor routes, the achievement in the last couple years, and even this year, under critical situation of the pandemic restrictions, has just been astounding. The deputy director of the Kazakh Railways announced that for the beginning of the year to the end of October, more than 400,000 ton TEUs, container equivalent, has been transiting Kazakhstan on the EU-China express lines. This is an increase of 60% over last year in a very difficult situation. And just to recall that this is 3 times the amount that was transited just 3 years ago in 2017. At that time, in 2017 already, the EU had exports to China over 3.2% through the rail system and imported 2.5% of the container trade through this transit line. You realize now it's 3 times that amount. So it's really thanks to Kazakhstan that our resilient trade relationship has been able to grow, and to pay tribute to the amazing results obtained by sustained Kazakhstan efforts in collaboration with its immediate partner on this route. Just in the last year, China and Kazakhstan on the border have made efforts to increase by 50% the amount of trains that can be managed, handled through the cross-border points. You know that they need to change because there are 2 gauge of the tracks, a large one, which is in the Eurasian Union, and a standard one, which is on the Chinese side. Now, they have increased by 50% the capacity to handle this transit through the border post in just 1 year. This is indicating the engagement of Kazakhstan to make this transit, because it's to the EU, a very performant system. They've installed with all their partners on the corridor a common consignment note, which can be electronically handled with digital processing, cutting the time at the border to a matter of hours when it was a matter of days before. I am just taking this as an illustration of how our Kazakh partners, when they engage, are really serious to get results, and they get it, including when it requires to have a positive engagement with neighbors, manage very difficult and technical questions on an area in which so far the EU has been quite timid, if not modest. So I think it is our mutual interest to engage.
Hello. I think we lost Mr. Borgoltz. I'm sure he will come back. I would like to invite Mr. Bekenov to develop the issue of. I know that the Nazarbayev Foundation is deeply involved in
since the beginning of the year on this rail freight. Similarly, neighboring countries have benefited from this. Uzbekistan trade through rail freight has increased by 25% to the north. Kazakhstan exchange to Turkmenistan increased by 55%. I mean, I could go on. The support, the tool provided by this new modern connection has an impact, a multiplier effect on the growth prospects of Kazakhstan and the whole region. Not to talk about Kazakhstan, the impact of all related reforms on economic, trade, investment that have been accomplished in parallel are just astounding. As you know, Kazakhstan has grown from, on the world index of doing business, from the 44th place just in 2015 to the 25th place now, ahead of many EU member states. That requires internal reforms, revising investment code, regulatory taxes, and so forth, which Kazakhstan not only has been talking about, but is doing with an amazing impact on foreign investment to diversify the economy, to develop the industrial activities, manufacturing. There are, to this network of transport, connection with all the regions in the country, each one developing its own potential for economic activities in agriculture, in non-ferrous metal, in dairy or meat, or even in the south. There is a big boost for fruit, vegetable, even with a certificate of origin of biological production and so forth, which has an enormous potential to reach developed markets in the EU or on East Asia. As you know, Central Asia is a birth of biological diversity, and its agricultural products are among the best for taste in the world. So let me stop here, but just to say that the results achieved this year make it possible to have more than 500,000 containers transited from East Asia to the EU this year, which was an objective put ahead for the year 2027. Do realize the speed of the change which has been triggered by the commitment and the dedication of the Kazakh authorities to their grand vision, saying this will create also a potential for socio-economic and durable development of the country and whole the neighboring region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Borgoltz. I'm sure there will be questions from the audience to you, and I really hope that such grand projects will not only be supported by the EU, but will inspire the EU for having its own grand projects. I think the member countries deserve such grand projects. I would like to turn to Mr. Bekenov and ask you to develop one part of the activity of the Nazarbayev Foundation, which is investing in human capital, helping the education of young Kazakhs in the best world universities, and making sure that they return to help their countries. This is a phenomenon in which some member states have failed, basically, because young people just stay in the countries where they have received their education. But maybe you will explain how Kazakhstan is solving this issue. You have the floor, Mr. Bekenov.
Thank you, Mr. Gotev. Yes, of course. Can you hear me well? Good? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Foundation is much focused on the development of human capital, and young people are, of course, our priority. And the decision to open our rep office in London was made due to the statistics that we have almost 5,000 students studying in the UK. So and this rep office was opened just last year sometime in March. And the first steps we did here, we contacted the associations of the students, master students, PhD students, and asked them how can we help in their activities, in their social life, in their education and scientific works. So we started to sponsor it and to organize two major student events in London and Nursultan with participation of about 500 PhD and master students, where they could share their views on some of the most important projects that could then be benefited in Kazakhstan for Kazakhstanis and Kazakhstani economy. And it was great, actually. Some of the ideas like Hyperloop from our student, Mr. Taijan, who is in contest to enter the team of Mr. Branson for the Virgin Hyperloop. And his ideas were very genius, and we also supported that. We have also this project, which is very concrete, Nazarbayev school project, whereas from thousands of pupils across Kazakhstan, we, together with an independent selector board, select around 50 students who are really, whose dreams are really connected to aviation. And for 2 weeks, they have wonderful time. It was until this year, the pandemic, of course, but we will resume that. In one of the leading universities in the UK, Cranfield University, they have access to flight simulators. So they are taught all bunch of the knowledge, and you can see their eyes. They are so delightful with this opportunity. And this year, Nazarbayev Foundation and its subsidiary Elbasy Academy started a huge program which was partially interrupted by the pandemic, but we hope to resume it next year. Yeleukenov, the hope and pride of the country, the translation for Kazakh. Whereas they aim to select thousands of most talented young people from, particularly from countryside, to give them the opportunity to study in the best training centers in universities in Nursultan and in Almaty. And it's not just there, the follow-ups will continue with somehow we'll try to follow them throughout their careers, to help them where we can. So this is sort of a very great opportunity for social lift for young people from remote areas of Kazakhstan. And of course, all of you know about Bolashak School. We do cooperate with Bolashak, and the Bolashak students are among the most active here. And as far as I know, I recall your question about how could they return back and how can they impact positively to the development of Kazakhstan? I would say statistics say that 99% of our Bolshak students they do return to Kazakhstan, and for now more than 10,000 of them they contribute much to the development. Some of them are ministers, some of them are in the top management of national companies, private sector as well. So I think this is what is really feasible, and foundation is trying to fill some of those gaps where the government I can't say cannot reach, but we help the government from the NGO side to fulfill some of the best ideas and projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bekenov. Now turning to Mr. Ameriks. Mr. Ameriks,
yes.
Coming back to the upcoming elections and the COVID situation, I know that even the European Parliament is basically closed. Is the European Parliament planning to send a team to monitor the elections? What is the plan?
Important. Yes, this is a very important question. We have not yet discussions. This possibility depends on pandemic restrictions. Yes, as I said, for European Union, this election period in Kazakhstan will be very important, and we follow all activities in case of this political process. But I can't say now how we just manage it. In our delegation, we don't have any discussions yet about this possibility. But I think depends on how the situation in Europe and abroad will continue and carry on with this situation. In pandemic and COVID-19, I think we will decide to. My personal opinion, we have to be observers in these elections.
Very good. I would like to now turn to some of the questions asked, and Mr. Ameriks, please stay because you may answer the first of the question. One of the people listening to this debate who didn't indicate his or her name asked what future cooperation do you see between Central Asian countries, and in particular between Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan? Maybe you can elaborate for the whole region of Central Asia as well. And I will ask the same question, of course, to other speakers, including Ambassador Kuspan.
I think, thank you for this question. I think, in my personal opinion, and I think it's, and we can see if we look the map in geopolitically, two main biggest economies in this region is Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, and it's highly important for us to strengthen our relations. Yes, we discussed about transparency, democracy, good governance, but economically, the European Union is one of the main partner for Kazakhstan and for Uzbekistan as well. Two main economies, and they keep stability geopolitically in this region. And I think we have to do as much as possible to continuing and develop this process in political level. Sure, yes, it's very important. Every country has elections. Every country has a period of maybe very strong discussions how we just solve the problems with pandemic. But European Union, I think, and our delegation as well, is one of the part of this political field of possibilities to strengthen these relations for future.
And I'm going to ask the same question to Ambassador Kuspan about regional cooperation, more specifically between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, but perhaps more widely among the 5 Central Asian countries. What is new there? Kazakhstan hosted the first summit of these countries. So can you tell us?
Thank you. Thank you very much. As I have said, the last years we are observing the increasing regional awareness among our neighbors, and that is a good trend for to develop the cooperation between the intra-regional cooperation between the Central Asian countries and between inter-regional cooperation between European Union and Central Asia. Indeed, with European Union, we have established a lot of platforms that are very regular. We have, for example, a political dialogue, a ministerial conference between the high representative of the EU for foreign policy and security, Mr. Borrell now, and the 5 ministers of foreign affairs of 5 Central Asian countries. But in addition, we have also a civil society forum, an economic forum, and a security conference. So it's all these platforms are functioning very regularly and very efficiently. And in this region of Central Asia itself, there is also a very good and very strong trend to cooperate, to increase the cooperation. You have mentioned the 2 summits that took place already in Central Asia, and because of pandemic, the 3rd summit couldn't take place yet, but I think it will be organized next year. So that we are observing now a sort of renaissance in the Central Asia itself, and between the renaissance, the revival of the cooperation between the European Union and Central Asia, very shortly.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. It's so nice to hear about Renaissance in the European neighborhood. Not all the European neighborhood looks, I would say, so reassuring these days, and this is why, in my personal opinion, the European Union value its relationship with Kazakhstan and countries from Central Asia. I would like to turn to Mr. Yeleukenov from the Kazakhstan Institute for Strategic Studies for commenting both regional cooperation, but also the next question, which was asked by one of the people attending our conference. She named herself as Valentina. And the question is, how does Kazakhstan leverage its experience of ethnic tolerance, diversity? I know that there were some big forums organized previously, but this is not possible under the current situation. So maybe you will be able to explain, Mr. Yeleukenov. Thank you. We cannot hear Mr. Yeleukenov.
I turned off it for a while. Thank you very much. And let me start with the COVID pandemic, which remains a serious challenge for our regional development, health, and well-being of our peoples. And in enormous, probably you know that Kazakhstan currently is testing vaccine and it now is under preclinical testing. And the flagship of our bioscience is a so-called central reference laboratory in Almaty, which was built by through due assistance of the United States in frame of so-called non-Lugar program. And I would like to remind that actually that laboratory used to be during Soviet times as a center for the regional so-called anti-plague system. I think that it's a right moment again to create something joint in the sphere of biosafety. And in addition, we the central laboratory, reference laboratory, is open for cooperation, international cooperation. And in addition, we have in the region the so-called the initiative. Definitely, you know about it. An initiative of the European Union on centers of excellence in the sphere of reduction chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear risks, and the abbreviation is CBRN. Last year, I attended the meeting in Tashkent, organized by the European Union, and it was devoted to the theme of centers of excellence for CBRN. And Kazakhstan at that time was not yet in that initiative, and I'm happy to inform you, and probably some of you already know that this month Kazakhstan joined this initiative, which is very important, and especially in terms of bio safety. And we actually, our scientists, bioscientists, they cooperated with the colleagues from Central Asia, even before we formally joined this initiative. And so, in this context, I would like also to mention about the International Science and Technological Center, which is based in Nursultan. It is an international intergovernmental organization, and it also works in many in non-proliferation sphere, and also has relations with the CBRN initiative of the EU. But so far, Uzbekistan not yet is a part of that center, and I hope that soon or not in very distant future, Uzbekistan will join the ISTC, which stands for International Science and Technological Center, and then there will be created a synergy between the two, I would say, structures. And by the way, European Union is the one of the main sponsors of the ISTC. We have I also would like to talk a little bit about the cooperation in the nuclear sphere, but maybe it's I will stop here and then later continue this subject. And about the ethnic, I would like to. It's about the question of Valentina. I'm not an expert in this area, but once I used to be. It was like 24 years ago, and when I worked with the when I was responsible for contacts with the OSCE, namely with the High Commissioner on National Minorities, Mr. Vanderstel. And we have extensive, very good contacts and very intensive work in this sphere. And in 1995, as you know, President Nazarbayev established by his decree Assembly of the People of Kazakhstan, and we managed, Kazakhstan managed to keep the keep the ethnic harmony in our country. And I remember that in 1996, High Commissioner on National Minorities issued a statement that Kazakhstan government does its best for strengthening the ethnic. I think that he used the word harmony in Kazakhstan. So, and one of the key elements of the activity of our government of the state in this sphere is the Assembly of People of Kazakhstan, and which is a serious organization and very important one, and it is even represented 9 of the members of the assembly represented in the parliament of Kazakhstan. Let me stop at this point, because I think that maybe somebody would better cover this question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yeleukenov. And please stay tuned, because there is another geopolitical question for which I think you seem to be the right interlocutor, which has just been asked by one of the speakers. But I would like to invite the rest of the panelists, if they wish to address the issues of international cooperation, of regional cooperation, or ethnic tolerance, multicultural dialogue, if they wish so. If not, I will ask the next question, which was asked by a speaker, by a participant. Her name is Andrea Argeșanu. And the question is it still possible for Kazakhstan to balance between the EU and Russia if their relations continue to deteriorate? In my personal view, as a journalist, Kazakhstan attaches a lot of importance in its relations with the EU, precisely because it is a neighbor of both Russia and China, and the EU is an excellent counterbalance. But I will stop there. I will ask Mr. Ameriks. Usually, people in Latvia have a very good geopolitical oversight, and this is why I give you the floor first, but I will ask other interlocutors to address this question as well. Mr. Ameriks, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I think it's a very interesting question, an important question. Yes, we look the map and we see the borders, and even discuss about Kazakhstan. Yes, the borders China, Russia, but looking forward to cooperation with EU. Yes, Latvia also has a border with Russia, and we have good or bad experience from the previous time. But yes, first of all, we can contribute for future all efforts to strengthen and develop our relations. And Kazakhstan is one of the key partners in case of next economical cooperation between EU as a whole organization and also the separate countries like Latvia or Baltic states. Baltic states are a Nordic gate to Europe, because we know that mostly the cargoes coming and economical activities coming by the railway. And this also is one good possibility to enlarge our possibilities to cooperate and contribute some new activities. But we take a note that the past gives us experience, but we take a note that we have to work together for future prosperity, democracy, and well-being for all country and all people. And I think for Kazakh people, so important next elections in 21st of January, and they will elect for next 5 years the politicians who will be responsible about decisions in the country. And we also, I think, looking very precisely how all the things will be. And I wish resilience and goodwill for future, because Latvia is one of the countries who also has a very good relations with Kazakhstan, bilateral relations, and I think we will continue this cooperation.
Thank you very much. We still have 10 minutes to go, and before I give the floor to each one of you for short closing statements, I would like to ask the same question to Mr. Yeleukenov about, the big geopolitics with Russia, China, and Kazakhstan in the middle. And also, I would like to ask him. He mentioned the center name after the former U.S. Senator Richard Lugar. There were publications in the Russian internet about Kazakhstan developing biological weapons in this American-funded center, and this is obviously a clear example of fake news and conspiracy theories. But how serious has this been for your country? If you can briefly answer, also having in mind that we are short of time.
Okay, thank you. Well, about the first question, I would prefer to use word balancing between big powers, but we would prefer to use the term multi-vector foreign policy of Kazakhstan. And I think this is very, although there is no exact, very clear definition of what is actually multi-vector foreign policy, but it bears fruits. For example, Kazakhstan has using this multi-vector policy and having great relations with many countries was rendered a platform for many international negotiations, very complex one. For example, on Iranian nuclear program, or so-called Astana process on conflict in Syria. So there is no any contradiction or any difficulties with simultaneously develop our relations with Russia, which is a very important state for Kazakhstan. We, as you know, we members of Collective Security Treaty and also of the Eurasian Economic Union, which is actually the initiative of our president, the first president, Elbasy, Mr. Nazarbayev. And so that is briefly my answer to this question. And about the central laboratory, yes, indeed, there were a lot of rumors and fake news. Let me repeat that the work of Central Reference Laboratory is open, and many diplomats, including Russian diplomats, visited the laboratory, and it is not designed for the development of bio weapon. It's absolutely different. It's simply not relevant. It does not fit for that purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's interesting to hear that Kazakhstan is developing a vaccine. You said that Kazakhstan is starting clinical testing, right?
Well, as I know, preclinical testing. So,
okay. Okay. I will give the floor to each one of you for a short closing remarks. So I'm sure that if the time is always very short, but now you have the time to make it up and say what you wanted to say, and you didn't have the time until now. Mr. Bekenov, you have the floor first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gotev. Just as a quick referral to the previous question on geopolitics, I would like to say that one of the famous publishers in the UK produced this summer this book devoted to the 80th anniversary of the first president, Mr. Nazarbayev. And I would like to ask Madam Ambassador to provide all of you with this English version of the book called Father of the Nation, Man of Peace. And in this book, if you will read it, and it's absolutely fantastic piece of work, you can see how, if to paraphrase Sir Winston Churchill's famous quote, that he wanted to see opportunity in every calamity, but not calamity in every opportunity. So in this regard, you can just recall all what was done, all these peacekeeping initiatives, including on the Ukraine, when President Hollande changed his flight and went to Moscow instead of getting back in Paris. And when this first contact between Western countries and institutions on the verge of that conflict happened. So everything is there. Yes, I will really appreciate our embassy will provide you all with this book. If more will be needed, I'm ready to send it via DHL. So this is very great historical retrospective of his leadership, and at the same time the history of modern Kazakhstan. And that would be a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to give the floor now to Mr. Ameriks for closing remarks.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you, Aeroactive, for organizing this discussion. Thank you, moderator. I think this is very important discussions. We're looking towards to the future and Kazakhstan and relationships between EU and Kazakhstan. And I shortly said, let's protect our health. And I think for us it's very important to develop our relations.
Yes, thank you. And Mr. Borgoltz? I think we lost Mr. Borgoltz. Okay. Mr. Borgoltz, you have the floor for closing remarks. Monsieur Borgoltz?
I'm sorry, the microphone went off. Yes, I would maybe reiterate what several speakers have alluded to as Kazakhstan an agent of peace within the country and in its region, with the country leadership committed to put a positive footprint of Kazakhstan in the evolution of the region towards good neighborly relationship and peace, and even beyond, taking a seat at the UN Security Council this year, taking on the chairmanship of the landlocked countries group. Kazakhstan is always positive to trying to find best joint agreed way to move forward. And this is just to say that when we are talking of this enhanced partnership with Kazakhstan, the EU is privileged. It has a precious partner to work with. And to come back to the topic I tried to illustrate, the importance attached by Kazakhstan to connectivity and how it has developed its own national program with a view also to share with neighbors up to the EU, up to China. I would say that this is talking about geopolitics, an area where maybe working with Kazakhstan, we can make significant progress. As you know, the EU has developed a strategy for connectivity with Asia, where it says explicitly to deepen cooperation with relevant regional organizations in Asia, and regional connectivity cooperation approaches would, if were relevant, lead to EU engaging at technical level with the Eurasian Economic Union and its member states, with the aim of achieving closer convergence of all technical aspect standards with international ones, but at least to have a basis to make progress together. No, this is, for me, with the offer of Kazakhstan to host such a joint meeting to find on current issues. And as you know, on this Eurasian corridor, there are huge problems at the EU border. It is our side which is not adapting to the evolution across the continent. So this is an area where I'm looking forward steps on the EU and with our help from Kazakhstan to really make good for this connectivity, but with all the multiplier effect on our Central Asia friends, where also this connectivity is part of the priority in the new strategy. So I am looking at the bright prospects, even on these geopolitical issues, through this Eurasian corridor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Borgoltz. I now invite you officially to write an op-ed, because you said that our side, the EU side, is not adapting sufficiently. And I think this is an important point you need to develop for the better understanding of the issue. So please feel free to send me your op-ed. The sooner the better. Mr. Yeleukenov, after what we hear, that the EU has a precious partner to work with. Do you think that Kazakhstan has a precious partner to work with in the person of the EU?
Well, I just invented an idea, kind of geopolitical, at the same time very practical. I think that why don't we build together, as you know, Kazakhstan is a very big country, it's the size of the West Europe, and one laboratory, central reference laboratory is not enough for Kazakhstan, which is based in Almaty, in the corner, southeast corner. And why don't we build another one in the west of Kazakhstan together with European Union and Russia? It would be excellent example of cooperation, and despite all disagreements. So, also I would like to mention that we have a lot of agreements, programs which are very useful. For example, in this year of fight against illicit drug trafficking and border management, as you know, KADAP 7, BOMKA 10, which stands for Central Asia, KADAP Central Asia Drug Action Program, and BOMKA Border Management Assistance Program in Central Asia. I'd like to inform you that we also have a regional organization which calls CARIC, or Central Asian Regional Information, very long name, Central Asian Regional Information and Coordination Center for Combating Illicit Trafficking in Narcotic Drugs, Psychotropic Substances, and their precursors. Though this center faces serious financing problems, and I hope that European Union will pay attention to the center and somehow will help to keep this center active. So it is about the institutions, and also I would like to mention about the anti-terrorism activity of Kazakhstan. And as you know, Kazakhstan initiated code of conduct towards achieving a world free of terrorism, open to signing for all UN members. And today, as you know, some of you, 88 states have joined the code, including all Central Asian states. And it would be great if EU members also join to this important initiative. I don't want to misuse your attention, though I also wanted to mention about this Central Asian zone free of nuclear weapons, and is also important element of Central Asian cooperation, and how the EU how could be involved, especially in terms of plans of the Republic of Uzbekistan to build a nuclear power plant. And so, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yeleukenov. The agenda is indeed very broad, and I also invite you. You have formulated several ideas to develop one of them in an op-ed and send it to me. I will give for final words the floor to Ambassador Kuspan, hoping that this is the first of many debates, because as we have seen, the agenda of EU-Kazakhstan relations is indeed very broad. You have the floor, Madam Ambassador.
Thank you very much. I would like to agree completely with Mr. Yeleukenov, His Excellency Yeleukenov. It is not about the main concept of the foreign policy of Kazakhstan is not about balancing, but about connecting. Connecting Russia and China, connecting Russia and European Union, in general, East and West, Christian world and Muslim world. It's about connecting. It's this connectivity, this connectivity is physical, as Mr. Dr. Borgoltz has presented. It's about developing rail transit, route transit, etc. But it is also about political connectivity, as Euractiv do. So I would like to thank all the panelists for their participation, active participation to this conference, and I would like especially thank Mr. Gotev for hosting this conference and for this excellent organizations of this debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you to all the participants, and welcome anytime at the next Euractiv debates. Goodbye.